Hey everyone, what is going on? MysticFox Live and welcome back to the channel. Today I have got the biggest news we've had in 2021 for the Payday franchise, that being Payday 3 has got a publisher. The agreement is finally sealed, it's confirmed, and there's a bunch of information to talk about. I'm not going to delay anymore, let's roll the intro and get right into the video. So, Payday 3, we finally got some solid news with regards to a publisher. So let's break down the announcement. First off, the publisher for Payday 3 is KOCH Media. I'm saying KOCH because the actual pronunciation sounds way more dodgy. But we've got a Starbreeze press release, a piece of concept art for the game, and additionally, there was an investor call this morning that media could attend. So I came in, took down notes, and I'm going to be presenting what I heard in the meeting to you in this video as well. So first off, let's start with the press release. Starbreeze remains the owner of the Payday IP, one of the most successful game franchises in the world with more than 28 million installed base games to date, and will be responsible for the continued development of Payday 3. The game marks the next major product for Starbreeze and will enable the company to further grow the Payday IP portfolio. We're excited to announce this long-term Payday 3 co-publishing deal with KOCH Media, who shares our passion for the Payday franchise and the games as a service model. In addition to securing the continued development, this deal secures global publishing of Payday 3, as well as the marketing efforts through the entire game life cycle. We now have a strong foundation for a successful launch of Payday 3, said Mathias Ögren, acting CEO of Starbreeze. With over 20 years of experience, KOCH Media has positioned itself as a premier publisher of digital entertainment. Using its extensive global marketing and communications experience and networks, KOCH Media will be responsible for publishing and marketing activities for Payday 3 around the world. We are delighted to welcome Starbreeze as a new partner for our global publishing business. Payday 3 is shaping up to be an incredible game, and based on what we've seen already, Payday 3 is going to take the franchise to new heights and will delight Payday fans as well as the new audiences alike with innovative multiplayer gameplay. And that's from KOCH Media's CEO. Payday 3 will be launched in a coordinated release on both PC and consoles in 2023, with additional content and functionalities planned for long beyond the release date. So, let's break this down. KOCH Media, first off, being the publisher. I will be looking a bit at their company later in this video to explore some things they've worked on before, for those of you who don't know the company and want to know more. But we now have the confirmed release date of 2023. The original window is between 2022 and 2023. It was a large window. We didn't know when it was going to release within that window. We now have it narrowed down to just 1 year, so in 2 years' time, we will know when Payday 3 is releasing, all being well. Of course, it is entirely possible things could get delayed close to the time, and I'm not ruling that out. However, it does seem like that's more of a confident release date now, so I'm hoping that will stay put. Again, coordinated release on PC and consoles, it's something we have heard before, and Tobias mentioned in my interview with him a few weeks ago. If you haven't seen that, I strongly recommend you do so. Plenty of information with regards to Payday 2 and Payday 3, but they are planning a united distribution and constant updating of content across all platforms on the new game engine, so console players, do not worry, they are planning this time to make sure they don't fall behind on consoles. And I know for some of you that won't be enough, you'd rather see it in action than hear me say it, and that's fine, but for those of you who want to know more, they are planning to keep a continuous release this time and not screw it up. And with everything going on now, I truly do think that they've finally got this under control and will keep consoles up to date. But games as a service and additional content and functionalities planned long beyond the release date, they're going for the exact same model as Payday 2. They will release a core game that will have the heists, characters, all that stuff in the base game, but they will keep adding things to it over time. We'll talk a little bit about how long they plan to keep the game going after launch when I get to the investor call section, but that's the general consensus of the announcement so far. So next up, let's show you the concept art piece. A picture of 4 characters looking across the New York City skyline, I believe that is, unless I am completely wrong with my American skylines. I'm pretty sure that's New York. But in the corner, we've got Payday 3, and there are 4 characters looking out across the river. Now, I've been looking at this picture and trying to study exactly who's in it, because I'm not entirely sure. What I will say, however, is that we can clearly see Dallas's mask. He's the middle character, the one that's closest to the camera, holding his mask, and it also looks like the back of Eric Atabari's head. Not that I've seen the back of his head much, it just gives me that vibe. I think that the character on the far right looks like Hoxton, looks like Josh Len's portrayal of him in live action. And I also would reckon that the character to the left of Dallas looks like the back of Damien Poitier's head, who plays Chains. Notoriously very short hair and also a lead character, it would make sense for that to be Chains. Who I can't nail down, however, is the person on the far left. Someone who's got hair there, so it's not Wolf as far as I can tell. I don't really know who they're going for there. Of course, because Ulf Anderson left to Overkill Software many years ago, I do not believe Wolf will be back in Payday 3 unless he is recast. Ulf Anderson will not be reprising his role. He's too busy now with his own company publishing GTFO, getting that game out, so I just don't personally believe he'll be back. They could recast Wolf, but honestly looking at that, I don't know. I'm thinking it could be Duke, but I think I'm probably reaching there. I think that's probably unlikely, so I'm going to mark the character on the far left as potential new character for the game, because let's face it, Payday 3 is bound to have some new heisters at launch, but hopefully it'll be alongside some returning faces too. Of course, I'd appreciate your thoughts in the comment section below as to who you think is in this picture too. I'd like to see what the general consensus is as to the identities of the people in that concept art. But now let's move on to what they said during the investor call and Q&A. So as I said, I attended this morning and listened to what Mathias Tyler had to say about the game. And so here are my notes from that call. First off, they are not publishing Payday Crime War via KOCH Media. This whole announcement is focused on Payday 3, which I'm sure a lot of us can agree is the main focus here. I don't think as many people care about the mobile game as compared to Payday 3 for obvious reasons. But for those of you who care about the mobile game, for those of you forgotten, the game was taken off the iOS and Android stores because the publishing agreement with Universal fell through since Universal shut down their publishing department, and since then, they've been trying to find a new publisher. Those talks are still ongoing. KOCH Media has not agreed to anything there, and according to the Q&A, Tobias has said that they're not in one package and that there are separate discussions going on for Crime War that are completely separate to Payday 3. They're going well, but they can't disclose more. So if anyone cared about that, there's your information for the mobile game. But he talks a bit more detail and overlaps some of the things we've seen in the press release about the 2023 release and the games as a service plan, same fashion as Payday 2, with continuous new content. He then also goes over a slide with information about KOCH Media, and I'll put this slide up on the screen because it gives you a bit of background to KOCH, and I will also, like I said, be reading something from their website shortly. But the slide says they're an independent producer and marketer of digital entertainment products and accessories in Europe, North America, Japan, Australia. They've got extensive experience in marketing digital media with an exceptional track record. With a large international distribution network, KOCH Media is also an Embracer Group company. And as I said, I had a bit of information on KOCH Media, so according to their website, there are several games they've published, as well as some core information for the company. Here's the core information on screen, some of the things they offer as game publishers. They offer strategic planning and product launch, market research and competitor analysis, so hopefully making sure Payday 3 is unique and doesn't overlap too much with other games, localization of products throughout Europe, and QA services for localization and compliance on consoles, making sure that consoles have the same content as PC, keeping it all streamlined, keeping it equal across all platforms. They will make sure of that. Digital distribution, vendor support, regular market visits, trade communications, all that stuff, bit more business stuff towards the end. Key thing, basically, making sure that the game is unique and not really overlapping with competitors too much. It's doing its own thing that's unique, and also being QA tested for all platforms to make sure that release is unanimous across all platforms. Bear in mind, it says PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch. Those are just examples of consoles. We only know right now that Payday 3 is coming out on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. We don't even know which Xbox and PlayStation consoles. Obviously, it's going to be Xbox Series X and PS5. It may also release an Xbox One and PS4, but I don't know that. So right now, I don't want to make any kind of speculations. KOCH Media does have some other games under its belt, and I figured it would be interesting for some of us to have a look at those games. KOCH Media's publishing label is called Deep Silver, and they've released more than 200 games, including the ones you could see on screen: Agents of Mayhem, Dead Island, Homefront Revolution, Metro, Saints Row, and Risen 3. Just some examples of big games there, mainly being Saints Row, Dead Island, Metro. They're the biggest ones that stand out there. So it'll be very interesting to see how this relation continues between Starbreeze and KOCH Media. Anyway, Tobias does continue talking about the games as a service model and the long-term monetization, but he then confirms that Payday 3 publishing is now fully financed. Payday 3 has all the money they need to get the game out of the door. He does mention there are actually still a few debts left to pay for Starbreeze. I didn't think there were, but they're obviously being worked off. I don't think there's many left now, so that's not worth worrying about. But he says the co-publishing of Payday 3 means both parties work jointly with development, marketing, and community management through the entire game life cycle. Now, that could be a point for concern, saying that both parties are jointly working on development. However, he does go on to specify later that Starbreeze still owns and has full developmental control over Payday 3. So I think really what it means with KOCH Media here is that they can suggest things for Payday 3's development, but they don't have a lot of control over it. Starbreeze can probably choose to listen to what they say, or just do their own thing if they don't think what KOCH Media is suggesting is appropriate. But either way, they've got a strong international foundation for a successful launch of Payday 3, which is what really matters. More of this can be seen on the next slide, which you can see here, talking about the game after its launch, games as a service. They're saying that total investment 18 months after release will be worth over 50 million euros, which means they've got at least 18 months worth of content planned for after Payday 3 comes out, so there's plenty of content still coming for the game. Although personally, considering how long Payday 2 had content support for, even before it was called off and brought back on again, there was roughly 5 years of DLC support just before the White House came out. So I would suggest that 18 months is the minimum for extra content, but I reckon it'll probably get extended beyond that if Payday 3 is the big launch they're planning and that we're all hoping for. They then go on to a final slide talking a bit more about the Payday IP and the future, with a few more details on Payday 3. So as we all know, development started in October of 2019, but they're aiming to enter the production phase this year in 2021, with a release date aimed for 2 years from now, using Unreal, with the IP developed and owned by Starbreeze, and the games as a service model, adding new functionality and content long beyond original release. For those of you who don't know what the production phase is, I'm going to put a diagram up on screen now to show you the 7 stages of game development, a more general, broad term for how games are made. Starbreeze has made it through the planning stage. They're currently at the end of pre-production. They'll be moving into production this year, and as you can see, it's the longest part of a game's development and the biggest part, because after that, you've got to test for bugs, do alphas and betas, and then launch the game. So once production's done, you've got the majority of the game made. It's only about testing and improving things going forward. So now Payday 3 is really full steam ahead. They know what they're doing with the game, and they're pushing right for it. They do also briefly mention that with the Payday 3 release in 2 years' time, they're hoping to also build up Payday's IP as a whole, that being through more merch sales or perhaps other things. I'm not sure what else they're hinting at there. It's also worth noting that KOCH Media also owns Gaia Entertainment, the company that is responsible for the distribution of Payday 2 merch right now, so it's interesting they mentioned Payday 2 merch at this point, alongside alongside the announcement that Koch Media, the owners of Gaia, are publishing Payday 3. There's already a good working relationship there, and I'm hoping that will help with the publishing of Payday 3. Obviously, Payday 2 had a decent influence with its web series and live-action trailers for DLC content. Maybe they're hoping to get something more in that field. I really am hoping for that. I think it was a very important part of Payday 2, and I don't want to see it fall by the wayside in Payday 3. And he also makes a very specific point of masks in Payday, saying they're a very important media opportunity for Payday, so maybe they're planning to release more masks as merch, either when the game comes out or before it. Just a little interesting tidbit I picked up there. But that rounds off the Starbreeze company presentation, and that rounds off the news for today. A lot to process here, so let's do a very quick summary. Payday 3 is releasing in 2023, published by Koch Media, known for Saints Row, Dead Island, and a few other titles like that. They have some influence over development, but are mainly here for publishing, while Starbreeze has full ownership and control of the development still, meaning that they can still put out the Payday game they want in Payday 3. The game will also have the same model as Payday 2, games as a service, with new content coming out beyond original release for approximately 18 months, and probably going to be longer beyond that point. And there will be simultaneous release of the base game and future DLC content on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, all concurrent. No delays this time. Overkill can't mess that up, and they know that, and this time they're really going for it for console players. I'm really excited to see this game get more news going through 2021 and into 2022, and I hope that you all are too. But that brings an end to this video, announcing everything going on with Payday 3 right now. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If any video you're going to give a thumbs up on, please make it this one, because it's a very big video. It's the biggest thing I've had to talk about this year, and probably will be one of the biggest things to talk about across the rest of the year. I'm super excited for Payday 3, but now I want to know all of your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about today's announcement about Koch Media publishing the game? What are you hoping to see in Payday 3? Does anything here excite you, or shock you, or worry you? Tell me everything you're thinking about the game and more down in the comment section below. It's a big one, and I want to know what you think about it. As I've said, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and if you're new around here, please feel free to click that subscribe button so you never miss any future content in regards to Payday 2, Payday 3, and anything else in the Payday world for PC and consoles. Either way, I will see you all very soon in the new video. Until then, look after yourselves, stay safe, and I'll see you all soon.